There's been a bit of a debate going on in my house lately. It revolves around my workspace here. I like to refer to it as the shop. My family calls it the garage. I often correct them and say, no, it's the shop. But they say there's cars in it, we do work on cars here. It's a garage. I do a lot of woodworking, I call it a workshop, or I just simply refer to it as the shop. We're at the end of 2023 here, and I got to thinking, it's been a long time since I've recorded any kind of shop tour video. In fact, I went back to look, and it was 5 years ago was the last time that I did something like this. At the time, I thought it was going to be something that I was going to do every year. And I went ahead and watched it, and it was really fun to go back and see what has changed, what I was talking about at the time, what I wanted to do, some of the goals that I had for 2019. And I thought, let's do that again. And at the same time, maybe we can kind of work through this debate of, should we refer to this as a garage or a workshop? I'm going to start with a quick comment about the actual garage door. So this is the middle of the winter. It's December 31st. It's 34 degrees outside, and it's nice and comfortable in my shop because I put in this 1-inch thick foam board into the cavities of my garage door back there, and it has made a world of difference. So we won't go into a whole lot of detail there, but this is that stuff that I use, just cut it and fit it into the spots. I took a little infrared thermometer just a minute ago, and it's reading 54 degrees, 56 degrees at the door, whereas if I didn't have that in place and I just had that thin aluminum or steel, whatever it is, garage door, it would probably be about the same temperature as it is outside. Moving over to this first corner over here, I have my clamp rack. Now this isn't necessarily the most ideal space for my clamps in the shop. It's actually a good 10 steps or so away from my overall general work area, but it tends to be the best location with the amount of wall space that I have. So I have all my clamps here and a couple of things above it. So most of the stuff in the shop here is general DIY related stuff, workshop stuff, or dare I say garage stuff. All right, coming along a little further on that same wall, I have this assembly table. So it's a wall-mounted folding assembly table. It has wheels. This is something I built a few years ago, and I'm not real happy with. And that's probably one of the things that I'm going to change this year, and kind of bringing up goals for 2024. That's kind of one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I prioritize and focus on, and also discuss and address in this video. So that's one thing that I'm going to be correcting, and the reason for it is because it stays on the wall most of the time, and that's because it's kind of heavy and awkward. It's a little bit of a challenge to get down and to get up because it is a full 4x8 sheet, or it's 4 feet by 8 feet in size. It's also a little bit too tall, I think, and it's rickety. I haven't been able to figure out a way to make it folding as well as stable. So that's something that I'm going to be working on. I just haven't figured out the new dimensions, whether that's going to be 3x6 or 3x7, whatever that new dimension turns out to be. But I want to utilize the same material that I have here and just make it smaller, easier to lift off and on the wall, and just make it safer overall. While I'm here on this wall, I did want to point out my probably most favorite tool in the workshop, and that is my Mr. Cool Mini Split. This thing has been an amazing upgrade and improvement to the shop. This is a Mr. Cool model. Installed a new 220 breaker, ran all the hoses and everything myself. Is very DIY friendly, highly recommend it. I think it was about $1,400 at the time that I purchased it, but it has been an amazing improvement to the shop. So again, it's like 34 degrees outside. It's a very comfortable 65, 67 degrees in here. And it's only been running for a couple of hours. So with the insulation that I've added and the mini split, it just makes working in the summertime and the wintertime so much more enjoyable. Before I move on, I did want to mention the lighting up above. That is another improvement that I've made, and I highly recommend adding good quality lighting to the shop. I don't know exactly what this brand is, but I'll try to find it and leave a link below. I purchased it off of Amazon, watched a lot of YouTube videos of other makers, woodworkers, and people who have put them into their basements and garages and workshops, and I couldn't be any happier. I think there's 14 of these 4-foot sections of LED lights. There's a few older model LED lights that I still have in here that I had years ago that I just continued to have in the shop here, and they provide reasonable lighting along with these new brighter lights. And then over here I got my first closet of the garage. I got a whiteboard on the outside of it that lists all my upcoming projects, my to-do list, my things that I want to do for improvements for the shop. I also have some motivational type messages, or at least some goals. So for 2023, my wife and I were out here one day on 12/18, and we talked about what are going to be some of our goals for 2023. At the time, for her, it was patience and prep work regarding some of the furniture work that she does. For myself, it was motivation and consistency. I gotta admit, I failed at both of those things, and that's one of the things that I wanna get better at in 2024. Hopefully this video will kind of reignite and kickstart some of those things so that I can be a lot better and more consistent with YouTube videos. So getting this one hopefully published on January 1st will be a good step in that direction. And as I open this door, this is just a bunch of mostly car related stuff. So all the chemicals, all the supplies, things to take care of our cars, mechanics, wrenches, and things like that. Trying to be as organized as possible, but that's what's in this closet. And then in between that closet and the next closet is our door that goes inside the house. The closet next door here is more storage, but this is mostly DIY related stuff. So I have all of these totes here they're separated by specific usage. So I have a tote for electrical supplies and electrical equipment. I have a tote for plumbing and all the supplies that are related to that, a tote for painting, a tote for flooring, just general home repair stuff, all kind of organized and separated into that closet. So in this area, we really start to see a blend of woodworking and car related stuff. So I got a big workbench here on the back wall with some cabinets, all kinds of storage, tools, all that kind of stuff. Won't go through all of those details, but still have car stuff down here. I do all my own oil changes and things of that nature. And that's kind of a question that I've always had. I see a lot of these shops and shop tours, and it looks like the workshop, the garage is completely dedicated to woodworking, and there's no way to get a car into that space. And I understand that some of these might be standalone shops where they have a garage that's still part of their house or connected to their house, and they may have a woodworking shop that's separate. But I've always wondered, for those individuals that have their garage set up as their workshop, where do they do their car related stuff or other DIY related stuff? Maybe they do that kind of stuff out in their driveway, or maybe they don't do it at all. Maybe they take everything to Jiffy Lube and have their oil changed and their local mechanic to do all their work. But I've always done all of that stuff as a DIY guy. I mean, big projects I take to the shop, but my youngest son is really into cars, and he likes working on cars, and we'll do things like that inside this garage. There I go again. Call it a garage when we're talking about car stuff. Call it a shop when we're talking about woodworking. But anyway, lots of tools and storage here. One of the things that I am planning to work on for 2024 is I inherited this TV back here. So that's going to go on the wall up above. And then the space down below, I want to make a French cleat system because I'm really interested in that first order retrievability that Adam Savage talks a lot about. And that's that you don't want to move one tool to get to another tool. And I have some of that going on in some of these spaces where I have to move things around in order to get to something else, or I have to open up cabinet doors or drawers and remember where things are. And while I have some of that stuff labeled, it's one of those things that slows me down. It slows down progress when I'm constantly pulling things out of cabinets, pulling things out of drawers. So I want to make that wall dedicated to those tools that I use most frequently. So as we move on to this corner over here, I do have this is where I store most of my stuff that's woodworking related. I do have this cabinet here that I made several years ago. It was in the last video. Still haven't utilized all the space in here, but I really like it for the fact that I can open up those two doors and grab any kind of hand tools or anything that might be stored in there. And then continuing on the wall here, up above, we have all of my stains and finishes, which I really like. I like that all of these are out in the open. I can see what I have and I can grab them quickly. I can take a quick and easy inventory. I know that whether I have something or I don't. And a little further along on that same wall, I have this storage rack that I built that has all of my nails and screws and things like that. Again, I can see it all. It's in plain sight, and I know whether or not I have something or I don't. And I really like the accessibility of that kind of stuff, and that's kind of what I'm going for with a lot of my hand tools and things that I'm going to use more frequently. And then along this wall, I have my miter saw stand. So my old miter saw built into the workbench. I think I have a video on this that I'll link below. And then I have this rolling, folding outfeed table. And this has been a really nice addition to the shop. I'm able to pull this out and set it up quickly and be able to either work on something as a standalone workbench, workstation, or it serves as an outfeed table for my table saw. And everything can kind of come together within just a couple of steps. I can still utilize this space to be able to pull in cars and do work on cars or whatever else I might need this space for. And I can quickly pull these things out and set them up and break them down and clean up the space. It doesn't take very long at all. Just a little further along past the miter saw workstation here, I have my only means of dust collection at this point. So this is a rolling dust collection cart. I have a video for this that I'll link down below. It's a pretty basic model. There's been a lot of versions of this on YouTube. And I'm able to just kind of wheel this out and move it around to whatever tool I might be using at the time, or use it to clean up the shop. And then a little bit further down is that table saw. Up above is my lumber storage, and it has a lot of pine, but there is some nicer material in there. It's kind of a mess right now. A lot of it's offcuts. I got a lot of scrap wood that I need to work through. The plan is to use a lot of this scrap wood for my upcoming French cleat tool wall. I'll also point out my Win air filtration system. This was added not too long ago to the shop, and this has been a real improvement in the overall air quality of the shop. So not only the dust collection, which could be improved, but the air filtration system really helps with any of that fine particles. And I've seen a major difference when I run that, whenever I'm doing any sanding or things like that, where I get that fine dust. It really cleans that out of the air. So I highly recommend that as well. And that's it for this shop tour. And I'm calling it a shop, not a garage. There's too much other things that go on in here. Occasionally we might park a vehicle in here. Occasionally we might pull a vehicle in here to do some work on it. But on most days, it's a workshop. So let me know what you think. Do you have any questions or suggestions? Drop me a comment down below. And thanks for watching.